Michael Sylvester Gardenzio Stallone, born July 6, 1946, is an American actor and filmmaker. He is well known for his Hollywood action roles, including boxer Rocky Balboa, the title character of the Rocky series' 7 films from 1976 to 2015, soldier John Rambo from the 4 Rambo films, released between 1982 and 2008, and Barney Ross in the 3 The Expendables films from 2010 to 2014. He wrote or co-wrote most of the 14 films in all 3 franchises, and directed many of the films. Stallone's film Rocky was inducted into the National Film Registry as well as having its film props placed in the Smithsonian Museum. Stallone's use of the front entrance to the Philadelphia Museum of Art in the Rocky series led the area to be nicknamed the Rocky Steps. Philadelphia has a statue of his Rocky character placed permanently near the museum. It was announced on December 7, 2010 that Stallone was voted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in the non-participant category. In 1977, Stallone was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for Rocky, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Actor. He became the 3rd man in history to receive these 2 nominations for the same film, after Charlie Chaplin and Orson Welles. He received positive reviews, as well as his first Golden Globe Award win and a 3rd Academy Award nomination, for reprising the role of Rocky Balboa in Ryan Coogler's 2015 film Creed. Early life. Stallone was born in the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood of Manhattan, New York City, the elder son of Frank Stallone, Sr., 1919 to 2011, a hairdresser and beautician, and Jacqueline "Jackie" Stallone, née Laberfish, an astrologer, former dancer, and promoter of women's wrestling. Stallone's father was born in Gioia del Colle, Apulia, Italy, and immigrated to the United States in the 1930s. Stallone's mother is of half French, from Brittany, and half Ukrainian Jewish, from Soviet Union, Odessa, descent. His younger brother is actor and musician Frank Stallone. Complications his mother suffered during labor forced her obstetricians to use 2 pairs of forceps during his birth. Misuse of these accidentally severed a nerve and caused paralysis in parts of Stallone's face. As a result, the lower left side of his face is paralyzed, including parts of his lip, tongue, and chin, an accident which has given Stallone his snarling look and slightly slurred speech. Stallone was baptized Catholic. His father moved the family to Washington, D.C., in the early 1950s, where he opened a beauty school. His mother opened a women's gymnasium called Barbella's in 1954. He attended Notre Dame Academy and Lincoln High School in Philadelphia, and Charlotte Hall Military Academy, prior to attending Miami-Dade College and the University of Miami. Hollywood career. 1970 to 1971, The Party at Kitty and Studs and Score. Stallone had his first starring role in the softcore pornography feature film The Party at Kitty and Studs, 1970. He was paid $200 for 2 days' work. Stallone later explained that he had done the film out of desperation after being evicted from his apartment and finding himself homeless for several days. He has also said that he slept 3 weeks in the Port Authority bus terminal in New York City prior to seeing a casting notice for the film. In the actor's words, "It was either do that movie or rob someone, because I was at the end, the very end, of my rope." The film was released several years later as Italian Stallion. In order to cash in on Stallone's newfound fame, the new title was taken from Stallone's nickname since Rocky and a line from the film. Stallone also starred in the erotic off-Broadway stage play Score, which ran for 23 performances at the Martinique Theatre from October 28 to November 15, 1971, and was later made into the 1974 film Score by Radley Metzger. 1969 to 1975, early film roles. While Stallone was in Switzerland, he played a restaurant patron, in a scene with Robert Redford and Camilla Sparv, in the sports drama, Downhill Racer, 1969. In 1970, Stallone appeared in the film No Place to Hide, which was recut and retitled Rebel, the second version featuring Stallone as its star. After the style of Woody Allen's What's Up, Tiger Lily. This film, in 1990, was re-edited from outtakes from the original movie and newly shot matching footage, then redubbed into an award-winning parody of itself titled A Man Called Rainbow. Stallone's other first few film roles were minor, and included brief uncredited appearances in Pigeons, 1970, as a party guest, Woody Allen's Bananas, 1971, as a subway thug, in the psychological thriller Clute, 1971, as an extra dancing in a club, and in the Jack Lemmon film The Prisoner of Second Avenue, 1975, as a youth. In the Lemmon film, Jack Lemmon's character chases, tackles and mugs Stallone, thinking that Stallone's character is a pickpocket. According to actor Elliot Gould, Stallone confessed to being in MASH, 1970, as an extra. He had his second starring role in The Lords of Flatbush, in 1974. In 1975, he played supporting roles in Farewell, My Lovely, Capone, and Death Race 2000. He made guest appearances on the TV series Police Story and Kojak. 1978 to 2005, more Rocky, Rambo, and additional roles. Following the success of Rocky, Stallone made his directorial debut and starred in the 1978 film Paradise Alley, a family drama in which he played one of three brothers who enter the world of wrestling. That same year he starred in Norman Jewison's FIST, a social drama in which he plays a warehouse worker, very loosely modeled on James Hoffa, who becomes involved in the labor union leadership. In 1979 he wrote, directed and starred in the sequel to his 1976 hit, Rocky II, replacing John G. Avildsen, who won an Academy Award for directing the first film, which also became a major success, 16, grossing $200 million. 1976, success with Rocky. Stallone gained worldwide fame with his starring role in the smash hit Rocky, 1976. On March 24, 1975, Stallone saw the Muhammad Ali-Chuck Wepner fight. That night Stallone went home, and after 3 days and 20 straight hours, he had written the script, but Stallone subsequently denied that Wepner provided any inspiration for it. Other possible inspirations for the film may have included Rocky Graziano's autobiography Somebody Up There Likes Me, and the movie of the same name. Wepner filed a lawsuit which was eventually settled with Stallone for an undisclosed amount. Stallone attempted to sell the script to multiple studios, with the intention of playing the lead role himself. Irwin Winkler and Robert Chartoff became interested and offered Stallone $350,000 for the rights, but had their own casting ideas for the lead role, including Robert Redford and Burt Reynolds. Stallone refused to sell unless he played the lead character, and eventually, after a substantial budget cut to compromise, it was agreed he could be the star. Rocky was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, including Best Actor and Best Original Screenplay nominations for Stallone. The film went on to win the Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Directing, and Best Film Editing. In 1981 he starred alongside Michael Caine in Escape to Victory, a sports drama in which he plays a prisoner of war involved in a Nazi propaganda soccer game. That same year he starred in the thriller Nighthawks, in which he plays a New York City cop who plays a cat-and-mouse game with a foreign terrorist, played by Rutger Hauer. Stallone launched another major franchise success, starring as Vietnam veteran John Rambo, a former Green Beret, in the action war film First Blood, 1982. The first installment of Rambo was both a critical and box office success. Critics praised Stallone's performance, saying he made Rambo seem human, as opposed to the way he is portrayed in the book of the same name. 3 Rambo sequels, Rambo, First Blood Part 2, 1985, Rambo 3, 1988, and Rambo, 2008, followed. He also continued his box office success with the Rocky franchise and wrote, directed, and starred in 2 more sequels to the series, Rocky III, 1982, and Rocky IV, 1985. Stallone has portrayed these two characters in a total of 11 films. In preparation for these roles, Stallone embarked upon a vigorous training regimen which often meant 6 days a week in the gym and further sit-ups in the evenings. Stallone claims to have reduced his body fat percentage to his all-time low of 2.8% for Rocky III. Stallone met former Mr. Olympia Franco Columbu to develop the appearance for Rocky IV and Rambo II films, just as if he were preparing for the Mr. Olympia competition. That meant 2 workouts a day, 6 days a week. During this time period, Stallone cultivated a strong overseas following. He also attempted, albeit unsuccessfully, roles in different genres. In 1984 he co-wrote and starred alongside Dolly Parton in the comedy film Rhinestone, where he played a wannabe country music singer. For the Rhinestone soundtrack, he performed a song. In 1987, he starred in the family drama Over the Top as a struggling trucker who tries to make amends with his estranged son. These films did not do well at the box office and were poorly received by critics. It was around 1985 that Stallone was signed to a remake of the 1939 James Cagney classic Angels with Dirty Faces. The film would form part of his multi-picture deal with Canon Pictures and was to co-star Christopher Reeve and be directed by Menahem Golan. The remaking of such a beloved classic was met with disapproval by Variety and horror by top critic Roger Ebert. Canon opted to make Cobra instead. Cobra, 1986, and the buddy cop action film Tango and Cash, 1989, the latter alongside Kurt Russell, did solid business domestically and blockbuster business overseas, grossing over $100 million in foreign markets and over $160 million worldwide. The 1990s began with Stallone starring in the 5th installment of the Rocky franchise, Rocky V. This film brought back the original film's director John Avildsen. It was considered a box office disappointment. He attempted the comedy genre, starring in 2 comedies during the early 1990s, the critical and commercial disasters Oscar, 1991, and Stop! Or My Mom Will Shoot, 1992. In 1993, he made a comeback with the hit Cliffhanger, which was a success in the U.S., grossing $84 million, but even more successful worldwide, grossing $171 million. Later that year, he starred with Wesley Snipes in the futuristic action film Demolition Man, which grossed over $158 million worldwide. His string of hits continued with 1994's The Specialist, over $170 million worldwide gross. In 1995, he played the futuristic character Judge Dredd, from the British comic book 2000 AD, in the eponymous film Judge Dredd. His overseas box office appeal saved the domestic box office disappointment of Judge Dredd, which cost almost $100 million and barely made its budget back, with a worldwide tally of $113 million. He also appeared in the thriller Assassins, 1995, with Julianne Moore and Antonio Banderas. In 1996, he starred in the disaster film Daylight. That same year, Stallone, along with an all-star cast of celebrities, appeared in the Trey Parker and Matt Stone short comedy film Your Studio and You, commissioned by the Seagram Company for a party celebrating their acquisition of Universal Studios and the MCA Corporation. Stallone speaks in his Rocky Balboa voice with subtitles translating what he is saying. At one point, Stallone starts yelling about how can they use his Balboa character, that he left it in the past. The narrator calms him with a wine cooler and calling him Brainiac. In response, Stallone says, "Thank you very much." He then looks at the wine cooler and exclaims, "Stupid cheap studio." Following his breakthrough performance in Rocky, critic Roger Ebert had stated that Stallone could become the next Marlon Brando, though he barely recaptured the critical acclaim achieved with Rocky. Stallone did go on to receive acclaim for his role in the crime drama Copland, 1997, in which he starred alongside Robert De Niro and Ray Liotta. His performance led him to win the Stockholm International Film Festival Best Actor Award. In 1998, he did voice-over work for the computer-animated film Ants, which was a big hit domestically. In 2000, Stallone starred in the thriller Get Carter, a remake of the 1971 British Michael Caine film of the same name, but the film was poorly received by both critics and audiences. Stallone's career declined considerably after his subsequent films Driven, 2001, Avenging Angelo, 2002, and Detox, 2002, also underachieved expectations to do well at the box office and were poorly received by critics. In 2003, he played a villainous role in the third installment of the Spy Kids trilogy's Spy Kids 3D, Game Over, which was a huge box office success, almost $200 million worldwide. Stallone also had a cameo appearance in the 2003 French film Taxi 3 as a passenger. 2006 to 2008, revisiting Rocky and Rambo. After a 3-year hiatus from films, Stallone made a comeback in 2006 with the 6th installment of his successful Rocky series, Rocky Balboa, which was a critical and commercial hit. After the critical and box office failure of the previous installment Rocky V, Stallone had decided to write, direct and star in a 6th installment which would be a more appropriate climax to the series. The total domestic box office came to $70.3 million and $155.7 million worldwide. 43. The budget of the movie was only $24 million. His performance in Rocky Balboa has been praised and garnered mostly positive reviews. Stallone's 4th installment of his other successful movie franchise is titled simply Rambo. The film opened in 2,751 theaters on January 25, 2008, grossing $6,490,000 on its opening day and $18,200,000 over its opening weekend. 2010 present, The Expendables and Creed. The Expendables was Stallone's big success of 2010. The movie, which was filmed during summer-winter 2009, was released on August 13, 2010. Stallone wrote, directed and starred in the movie. Joining him in the film were fellow action stars Jason Statham, Jet Li, and Dolph Lundgren, as well as Terry Crews, Mickey Rourke, Randy Couture, Eric Roberts, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and cameos by fellow 80s action icons Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Their film works. Stallone's debut as a director came in 1978 with Paradise Alley, which he also wrote and starred in. In addition, he directed Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, along with Rocky II, Rocky III, Rocky IV, Rocky Balboa, and Rambo. Life. Stallone has been married 3 times. At age 28, on December 28, 1974, he married Sasha Zach from Pennsylvania. The couple had 2 sons, Sage Moonblood, May 5, 1976, July 13, 2012, who died of heart disease at age 36, and Sirja, born 1979. His younger son was diagnosed with autism at an early age. The couple divorced on February 14, 1985. He married model and actress Brigitte Nielsen on December 15, 1985, in Beverly Hills, California. Stallone and Nielsen's marriage, which lasted 2 years, and their subsequent divorce, were highly publicized by the tabloid press. In May 1997, Stallone married Jennifer Flavin, with whom he has 3 daughters, Sophia, Sistine, and Scarlett. His daughters were chosen to be Ms. Golden Globe at the 74th Golden Globe Awards. Religious views. Stallone was raised a strict Catholic but stopped going to church as his acting career progressed. Later, he rediscovered his childhood faith, when his daughter was born ill in 1996, and he again became an active Catholic. In late 2006, the actor was interviewed by Pat Robertson from the CBN's 700 Club. Stallone stated that before, in Hollywood, temptation abounded and he had lost his way, but later put things in God's hands. In 2010, he was interviewed by GQ magazine, to which he said that he considered himself a spiritual man, but was not part of any organized church institution. Political views. Stallone is an outspoken supporter of the Republican Party. In 1994, Stallone contributed $1,000 to the campaign of then-Congressman Rick Santorum, who was then running for the United States Senate in Pennsylvania. In 2008, Stallone endorsed John McCain for that year's presidential election. In the 2016 election, he described Donald Trump as a Dickensian character and larger than life, but did not endorse him or any candidate in that year's Republican primary. In December, he declined an offer to become chair of the National Endowment for the Arts, citing a desire to work on issues related to veterans. 84, he advocates gun control and has been described as the most anti-gun person working in Hollywood today.